Took the kids on vacation for 5 days. Took my 3 kids to Florida on vacation for 5 days. Caught my wife on the Ring doorbell bringing a dude into the house on our first night away. She denied everything. She told me it was a new woman from work. However, it looked like a guy. I confronted her over the doorbell and she said it was a lesbian that was new to her clinic. However, strangely, she suspiciously changes undershirts between times I'm seeing her on the doorbell letting the dog out. I was still very suspicious. I spent 5 days of feeling sick around 3 teenagers and not wanting to mention why. Eventually, after 2 weeks of questioning, I busted open her phone. Found a 2-week hardcore SX romp where she was even emailing the a-hole videos of her masturbating in my living room. Their commentary is filled with very twisted SX talk. Almost all anal SX and S&M, no judgment, if you're into that thing. Lots of talk about if I'm going to figure it out or not. Finally figured it out. Called the guy from her phone and called him a ducking a hole. We've been married for 10 years. She lost her son 3 years ago. And has been delving into alcoholism ever since. The guy is from AA and is supposedly one of the leaders there. One of their main things is not to allow dating of people in crisis. Apparently to this moron it doesn't matter. Sick to my stomach. But nothing anyone can do about it. She's now asking for a divorce. Update: I spent the last 3 days trying to get back together with her. A few hours ago she told me she was only trying to calm me down and still wants a divorce. She's been driving me crazy by sleeping in my room. Tonight I chased her out tonight by being a jerk. I was reading her text to the other guy back to her. Very douchey of me. Now I'm alone in our bedroom. I don't know if I'm being gaslighted or what because somehow I'm feeling guilty about what she did. Me being in a hole seems to prove that my attempt to get back together was just a scam on my part. When really my emotions are just all over the place. I feel totally insane too. I wake nightly covered in sweat from dreams I can't remember. I don't have much hostility towards her. But the guy that came into my house. WTF, I have the audio soundtrack of the self-porn video she sent to this guy as my ringtone for her. Prince When Doves Cry with her moaning in the background. I have her voice from the doorbell laughing what a surprise it'll be if I'm home, as my new message alert. I have to rummage through my finances for the divorce attorneys and risk losing thousands. Just to pay for this woman who screwed a stranger from AA in my house. Absolute ducking insanity. The other part is she's still with the guy and using SX as a drug. Another percentage of this is based around our crap SX life for the last 3 years. She lost her son in an accident and had been drinking heavily for 3 years. Most nights she lay on the couch passed out or went to bed at like 8:30 to 9. I want to blame myself. But it wasn't just me. It was the situation. She has asked me for more SX quite often. I've asked for intimacy and begged her to stop drinking. Curiously, she stopped drinking after she cheated but also chose to leave. Might be that the guy was a person from AA that she hooked up with. Like most people, I wish I could go back in time. I know that's intense and that she needs help. But there's nothing I can do now. I've tried like 6 times to get her to go to a counselor and she cancels every time. I think she wants to see someone that doesn't know anything about me, or us, or our family. It's like I woke from a dream with a new person. She wants out. Seems like she doesn't remember a thing that's happened over the last 10 years. Everything I did, everything I stood by her on, all our traumas we suffered are forgotten, with her saying, anyone would have done the same. My heart is broken. And I'm suffering through it with a stranger at the helm of the ship. I can only hope that someday she wakes up to see what she's done. It's hard to believe. And hard for me to survive. Get divorced. Let the people in AA know what he did so he gets kicked out. Get her as far away from the kids as you can while she self-spirals. Call her AA sponsor. The dude who she is cheating with needs to be outed, and hire a divorce attorney. What she did wasn't a mistake. It was a very long series of conscious choices to betray you and lie to you. That requires contempt, and no marriage can survive contempt. Estranged wife cheated July 2021, now defaming me. I have been lurking on this sub for a little while, and like many others, would just like to say thank you for sharing and helping others in their healing process. Some new information came to light today from some colleagues that my estranged spouse is grasping for attention on private Facebook groups, essentially calling me a monster, saying I beat her, mentally abused her, and financially abused her, and was a deadbeat dad. And I'm struggling to comprehend how she can justify any of it, when I was none of those things. Not a single time did I ever hit her or get physical with her, did I ever control her, other than caution her not to go crazy on a credit card that she so kindly maxed out before we started out divorce process, and she had her own vehicle to go/do anything she wanted to do. I was absent from my son's life quite a bit, currently 3, because I was working and going to school full-time for 4 years, and only had 10 days of PTO. But I thought I had their best interests at heart, and it was temporary. But, to the point. The end of our marriage began on January 12, 2021, when we were forced to terminate our 20-week-old baby due to a rare genetic defect that would have been fatal for her, and the baby was going to die no matter what. The pain from that event alone was horrible, but she said she only wanted kids because of me, both wanted to try again a few months later, and got pregnant with twins, only to have them disappear at 8 weeks. At this point, she was already on multiple antipsychotic meds, and we were both pretty depressed and became distant. She stopped doing pretty much anything, and barely spoke a word to me when I got home from work, etc. We were both trying to cope, and it wasn't really healthy for either of us. But I believe the medication allowed her to detach from reality, and at some point she decided I wasn't being emotionally supportive enough during the summer of 2021. I know this, because a fellow Marine that I served with sent me a screenshot of her on Tinder in July. It took me a few days to confront her, but I finally did, where she tried to play it off like she created it and deleted it within the first day and was just trying to get attention. But I didn't believe her, still don't, because she deleted all of her history, wouldn't share her phone with me, and likely had been cheating on me for a while. She would do weird things like go to the gym with a personal trainer at 1 a.m. and things like that. So, oh well. I still attempted to reconcile for the sake of our son, but she wanted out. She said she couldn't stand to look at me anymore, and became extremely cold and suey about getting the divorce process started immediately. So we filed in August and became legally separated, and I started paying for an apartment, because she blackmailed me and said I couldn't see our son anymore if I didn't. So, I started packing up our house, paying a mortgage and for an apartment, racking up debt while getting ready our home fixed up to sell. While doing this, she would leave our son with me, so she could go sleep around, and basically did nothing to help. It was a fun 3 months. Duck moving. I don't know why, but I held on to the hope of possibly reconciling so that our son could grow up in a nuclear family. I held on to that thought until about March, because I myself grew up in a household where my father left when I was 3, always wondering where my dad was. It sucked, and I didn't want my son to have that life. March was when I made the mistake of looking at her social media and seeing her with the guy I presume she was cheating on me with the entire time. And now, I have to hear my son now ask me where babe is, because she has this dude tucking him into bed and basically replaced me already, which I definitely don't think is healthy, but pretty powerless there. And it just genuinely sucks, because I actually loved her, and thought we would spend the rest of our lives together. Cliché, I know. There were rough patches, and we were in a horrible spot with the loss of the babies, but I finished my degree, about a week after finding out about her being on Tinder, and found a much better job that is full remote. Life, in my eyes, was looking up for both of us. But today, getting screenshots from people seeing the disgusting sheesh talks about on these FB mom groups, talking about how the guy is great at his pullout game, and has laughing emojis saying oh, I might get pregnant again, shows me total disregard for the loss that we experienced, and it seems like she is either so numb from the pain, that she just completely lost herself. And to top it off, 2 weeks ago, I made a sincere apology, about all of the mean things that I did do to her throughout our 6 years of marriage. I cried, she cried, and I thought we could move forward with amicably co-parenting, and she agreed to limit that guy from seeing my son since he's just using her for sex, my assumption. But she threw it in my face, saying I'm a narcissist and my apology basically meant nothing on the FB group, and completely lied about limiting contact with our son. This post was seen by several colleagues' wives who knew the whole situation and screenshotted it, and sent it to me. Like, Multiple employees' wives in my firm probably saw that shit, so I sent it to my lawyer, because she is literally ruining my name. It's so disheartening for someone you once cherished to say such horrible things, and deliberately lie about you, for really no apparent reason. Her original post was to get legal advice because I told her I had an attorney ghosting our MSA, and she didn't trust me. I'm not sure if I should tell her I know any of that information, probably not, because I think she'll go nuts on me for finding out. But I would like input for one thing. She is extremely passive aggressive when we exchange our son. Basically along the lines of things like, "Oh, he didn't die while you had him?" I'm surprised. It feels like she just wants to get at me any way she can with what little contact I have with her at this point. Any way to handle that going forward besides simply ignoring it? Thank you for listening.